Adventurer Peter Bland has also been enjoying a hike in the snow, becoming the first Australian to walk to the magnetic North Pole. His 4-week, 600-kilometre ordeal was all the more courageous considering he'd survived 2 major heart operations. Nick McCallum was on the plane that picked up the team at the top of the world.
We spotted Pete Bland and his team just as our plane compass started spinning, the characteristic of the magnetic North Pole. We were the first living creatures they'd seen in 4 weeks, and Pete celebrated creating history with champers on ice.
To the North Pole!
Yeah!
Mr. Magnetism! Still $1 million. It's been just the best trip ever. It's just unreal. I can't fathom it, actually.
And as the first Aussie to walk here, he planted the flag of Sir Douglas Mawson, the first Australian to the magnetic South Pole.
90 years ago, it was flying at the South Magnetic Pole, and today, it's here with me.
Shooting their own video, Pete and his British team members said they got used to living in the numbing cold.
I suppose the wind chill's about -50 at the moment.
The 600-kilometre slog even more remarkable because Pete has survived 2 open-heart surgeries. Not a handicap, he says, but always on his mind.
There were a couple of days where it was particularly tough and I felt pains, but I don't know where they were coming from. Maybe they were my ribs or my arm, or maybe it was my heart. Oh, how sweet it is.
Overall, Pete said his Australian first was remarkably stress-free. He saw polar bear tracks, but did not actually encounter one of the ferocious beasts and suffered just minor frostbite on his face. The only problem Pete Bland and the other team members had during their 28-day trek here to the magnetic North Pole was a radio blackout, which affected the entire area for a week. That lost contact did not slow them down, but it did concern Pete's family back home in Melbourne. For Pete, the tougher the challenge of making it here, the more he loved it.
What drives me is setting a goal, and the more knockbacks I get, the more obstacles I come across. They just harden my resolve to achieve my overall objective. And I think you don't get tested like that in normal Western civilised society.
Come on, get out of here. Let's go home. Go for it.
And that's why Pete's determined to return to what he calls the Great White Outback.
Oh, well, I'll be back. I think the next one will be solo, longer and tougher.
You think you'll be able to handle it out here on your own?
Oh, yeah. I tell you what. Just wait.
At the magnetic North Pole, Nick McCallum for Nightline.